Did you also analyze the testimony of Ms. Arnold in this case?
Yes, I did.
And are you aware of her opinion that Ms. Heard's career would have followed the same trajectory as that of Jason Momoa, Gal Gadot, Zendaya, Ana de Armas, and Chris Pine, if not for the Waldman statements?
Yes.
No.
What's your understanding of Ms. Arnold's basis for her opinion that Ms. Heard's career should have been similar to that of those identified actors?
That is pure delusion. Nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that.
Ms. Arnold stated that when producers or her industry is looking to hire talent and actors, that it's important to best understand the public's perception of the actors that they're considering, and that it's important to look into social media to see what is happening with the actors they're considering for either a movie or even an endorsement opportunity with companies. So that was her approach.
And is that the process she followed in providing her analysis of those purportedly comparable actors?
No. Although she stated that, she went in and brought in these alleged comparable actors, and without really reasoning behind that.
Did you conduct an analysis based on your expertise in social media and internet analytics of Ms. Heard compared to the actors to whom Ms. Arnold compares her?
I did.
And what did you find?
Well, since Ms. Arnold stated that the proper approach is looking at the public perspective, looking into social media, and she did not do that, I felt that was the best approach to do this based on her words. So yes, I did go into best understanding the public perspective of Ms. Heard and the alleged comparable actors using Q scores. Then I also went and did some analysis online and on social media as well.
Can you briefly remind the jury what Q scores are?
Yeah, again, Q scores measure how well a celebrity, it could be a cartoon character, it could be a sports person, how well they're known, how well they're liked, and how much they're disliked. And it's an industry standard tool that's used. It's not just focused on the movies that they're in, but it's focused on them as actors, but also what's happening in their personal lives come to play
really?
as well. So that's how Q
What about
scores
actors that play villains and
Did you prepare a
people don't like
demonstrative
them?
that reflects the Q score analysis you completed?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach again? All right. Thank you.
What is the question mark on? Okay? Dude. Guys, people are not reasonable. The general public is stupid. People disliked Skylar a lot in Breaking Bad because she was a bitch ass.
Identify plaintiffs.
That's because she did good acting. If you hate her, it means that it's good.
And publish to the jury.
Mr. Banya, what point in time do these Q scores represent that are reflected on your demonstrative?
So these are the winter 2019 Q scores that are reflected here. And what was important for me is I wanted to find Q scores that represented Ms. Heard after Aquaman. And remember Aquaman, December of 2018. These Q scores were gathered January and February of 19, but before the Waldman statements.
And what did you find based on the Q scores?
Oh, thanks, ID. I'm gonna ask my mom.
Scores, and the higher the number, the better. As you can see, Ms. Gadot has the highest Q score out of the group of actors here at a 28. But you're going to notice Ms. Heard has the lowest positive Q score. She has a 9. So I find that very interesting that she doesn't appear to fit in as a comparable with these alleged comparable actors. I think what's also interesting is the average Q score for all actors being scored at that time, which include all the alleged comparable actors here, score at an average of 17. And you can see, again, she is 9.
This is
well
interesting.
Below that. And then on the right side, you're going to see the negative Q scores. So this is how much people dislike you. So the lower the score is better. You can see Mr. Momoa is over here with the lowest at an 8, but you can see Ms. Heard is over here at a 28, which was quite a difference. a 20-point difference from Mr. Momoa, and also a 10-point difference, from the average of all actors.
Why do people dislike Anna? Yeah.
Very, very much
Why?
little.
What'd you do?
Her positive score is very low, and her negative score is very high.
Dude, come on.
You can see Miss Heard is
Fucking
over
chat,
here at
dude.
28, which was quite a difference. A 20-point difference from Mr. Momoa, and also a 10-point
long nose hair,
difference,
sorry.
from the average of all actors. So she is very, very much little. Her positive score is very low, and her negative score is very high, which tells me that she does not fit in as a comparable as it relates to
She
these
broke
alleged
up with Ben
comparable
Affleck.
actors.
What opinions did you form based on that Q-score analysis?
My opinions as it relates to these Q-scores is, Miss Arnold used these actors as
Kind of sad
allegedly
that this
comparable
exists,
actors.
to be honest.
But really, listening to her testimony yesterday, it appears that she's abandoned this approach. I don't think she's using these comparable actors or these alleged comparable actors anymore. She's more relying on her experience, and I agree with that.
Why? Because it makes people
Did
live
Ms. Arnold
lives
offer a
that are
criticism of your use of the Q-scores here?
manipulated
She did, yes.
to get a good Q score.
What's your understanding of what that criticism is?
Well, what I believe she was saying is that I should have ran Q scores for these allegedly comparable actors after each of their breakout films, which I disagree. First of all, Q scores
If
doesn't
you date
work
a
like
good
that.
actor,
Q scores are
would you want to
available
break up with
twice
them
a year,
on
so
normal
it's not
because you
that I
don't love
could
them
pick
anymore?
a month
But
or
you're
a
going to
different
tank your
month
score
for
because
each
their
of
fans are going to tank your Q score?
Actors.
What can you do?
So I feel that, what was important for me, and this doesn't always happen when I'm using Q scores, you can get this perfect moment in time. As Miss Heard said, I'm sorry, but as Miss Arnold said, that, Aquaman was Miss Heard's breakout moment. So these scores reflect that breakout moment, and they're terrible Q scores.
How would your analysis change if you had used Ms. Arnold's logic with respect to the timing of the Q-scores that you looked at?
I mean, if you really think about what Miss Arnold was saying, is she's saying that she thinks Q scores are the highest for each actor right after their breakout moment. So I would think, if anything, these Q scores could have been a bit lower, because it's not right after their breakout moment. But what's important for me is the fact that these scores reflect, who Amber Heard was at the time before the Waldman statements, but after the Aquaman release.
We can take that one down, Tom. Thank you.
That's a
What
good.
other work have you done in connection with forming your opinions?
That
in
was
this
a
case?
good graph.
Again, taking the advice from Ms. Arnold, it's important. She says the industry looks into social media, what their followings are like, with the numbers as it relates to their followers. Again, what is the public perception of them? So I analyzed their social media accounts, but prior to the Waldman statement. So.
And how did you do that?
Yeah, so what I did, I don't know if you're all familiar with the archive.org. They have a tool called the Wayback Machine. What archive.org does is it archives the internet. So you can go back in time to see what websites and web pages used to look like in the past. Not all the time can you actually get a celebrity's social media accounts to have been archived, but we were fortunate that each of the alleged comparable actors' social media accounts were in archive.org. So I was able to go back in time prior to the Waldman statements to see what the following activity was for each of the alleged comparable actors.
Mr. Banya, did you prepare a demonstrative that reflects your social media analysis?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
No objection to the demonstrative.
All right, we'll mark it for identification purposes, plaintiffs 1297 and publish.
Banya, could you tell the jury what you found when you looked at the social media?
Yeah, so what I found, again, this is prior to the Waldman statements. First thing you're going to notice here is not all actors use social media. You're going to see Mr. Pine doesn't have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and Momoa and DeArmas don't use Facebook or Twitter. But what's important to look at is you have Ms. Heard prior to the Waldman statements with 3.8 Instagram followers
Right,
and
stop!
142,500 Twitter followers. And then you move down to Gal Gadot with 37 million Instagram followers compared to her 3.8 million. And the 2.3 million Twitter followers compared to Ms. Heard's 142,000. And you can then even go down to Zendaya with 65.9 million and 17.2 million Twitter followers. What this is telling me is really, more people are
Actually,
interested
D-list.
in Ms. Gadot and Zendaya and even Mr. Momoa than Ms. Heard on social media. It just tells me a lot. People are interested in these actors as opposed to Ms. Heard, more of a following. Q scores, well-liked, less disliked. So it kind of fits into the analysis of determining whether or not these alleged comparable actors are actually comparable.
Based on your expertise, what are your overall opinions about Ms. Arnold's analysis of the so-called comparable actors?
Yes, again, it appears that she's abandoned this approach, and I agree with that. I feel that, through the Q-score analysis and the social media analysis, that they're just not comparable.
Tom, we can take that one down. Mr. Banya, based on all the analysis you did in this case, what are your overall opinions?
She's all right.
Yes, my overall opinions are that Mr. Schnell failed to prove any causal connection with the Waldman statements in the search or the hashtag activity, those spikes as it relates to Twitter. There's no causal connection there. My second opinion is, based on my social media and Q-score analysis, Ms. Arnold's alleged comparable actors are not comparable. And then third, Ms. Arnold and Mr. Schnell both failed to prove any causation as it relates to the Waldman statements causing economic harm to Ms. Heard. So, as a damages expert, which Ms. Arnold is, you need to take into consideration causation before you can calculate damages. You look at damages and you look at this allegedly damaging event, and not only do you have to prove that 100% of the damages because of these Waldman statements, she didn't even consider COVID. It happened at the same time. A lot of actors probably made a lot less money because of COVID. Maybe films didn't get made. And, when you do an analysis of damages, you prove causation, but you also have to look at everything else that might have caused this alleged economic harm. And she didn't look into any of that. She didn't even know what causation was. So I don't think that damages is an appropriate approach in this case.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination.
So here's you have my Q scores over here. So this is everybody that they presented, right? With the Momoa and shit like that. This is me, X. This is Q score.
Good afternoon, Mr. Banya.
It goes all. I couldn't get the data to match because I didn't have
I am
big
a
enough.
damages expert, but not providing any quantitative damages opinions in this case.
In this case, okay. And is it your testimony that only if a person repeats the Waldman Depp statements could they be related to the defamation?
Be quiet.
Say that one more time.
Are you saying that a person literally has to repeat the Waldman Depp statements in a tweet for them to be related to the defamation?
No, if you looked at my analysis, I did pick the 3 themes as it relates to the tweets, and I analyzed those themes, and I came up with 5 examples of when those themes were used.
Yeah.
And you ran searches for, quote, abuse hoax, sexual violence hoax, and fake sexual violence.
Est-ce que c'est packagé ou quoi?
And you ran all those in quotes, correct?
I did.
C'est spécial?
So only if a person used a tweet with those words in that order
Doesn't it?
and with that spacing would they hit on your searches, correct?
Objection, compound.
Overruled.
Yeah, so I used them in quotes because, hoax could be used in many other contexts. So I wanted to make sure I was fitting my search with the theme of the Waldman statements.
So if someone tweeted misheard faked sexual violence, that wouldn't appear in your searches, correct? Faked with an ED.
It would not.
Okay. And if they use 2 spaces between abuse and hoax, that wouldn't fit in your search.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you? And a tweet can only be 280 characters, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So certain of the Waldman-Depp statements, a person could not tweet the whole thing in one tweet, correct? The whole statement in one tweet.
The Waldman statements?
Correct.
No, you could not
Okay.
tweet those entire quotes.
Did you make any determination if there was an online bullying campaign against Mr. Depp after Ms. Heard's
Wait,
op-ed?
what?
I didn't look into any online bullying campaign for Ms. Heard nor Mr. Depp.
Did you determine if there were tweets harassing Mr. Depp that quoted from Ms. Heard's op-ed?
No, my assignment was to determine if the Waldman statements were part of the tweets that Mr. Schnell provided. I was rebutting him.
And in your analysis of when you testified before, you never looked to see if the op-ed was quoted anywhere, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Wait.
All right, questions withdrawn. Next question.
Now, you have no objection to Ms. Arnold's use of comparables, correct? Just the use of comparables in general.
I listened to her testimony and my understanding that she abandoned that approach. But as it relates to my testimony today, my opinion was related to those specific alleged comparable actors, that they were not comparable.
You're not offering an opinion as to who the appropriate comparables should be to Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you testified just before about the Q scores of Ms. Heard and the comparables. That was Plaintiff's Exhibit 1296, correct?
Check your beds.
I don't know what 1296 means.
Okay. The demonstrative in front of you.
Mine? Yes, that's correct.
And you said that those were all for the winter of 2019?
I said Ms. Heard's were from the winter of 2019.
Because isn't it true that none of the rest of these people were from the winter of 2019 , correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But that's what
In
she.
fact,
That's what she used.
Mr. Momoa's was from the summer of 2020?
That's correct. Not all alleged comparable actors had
They were
Q
in their
scores for that
breakout
date.
moment.
What was important for me is to get Ms. Heard's Q scores right after Aquaman, but before the Waldman statements.
So you weren't comparing apples to apples, correct?
I wouldn't say that. I'm saying that it's not the exact same years.
Well, so in the winter of 2019, that Q score comes out. That the field work dates for that is from January 22nd, 2019 to February 7th, 2019, correct?
That is correct.
So that would be so the field work would be starting almost immediately after Aquaman just came out, correct?
Yeah, in her Star is Born moment, yes.
You'd agree that for the winter of 2020, where you took Jason Momoa's Q score, would have more time to account for the rise in popularity of the film Aquaman, correct?
What?
Well, actually, if I use Miss Arnold's suggestion, the celebrities tend to have, the celebrity
Movies
moment
don't
right
peak
after they
3
have their
years.
breakout film. So I disagree with that. I think maybe his Q scores could be lower as it relates to when I use them.
Yeah.
You'd agree that for the winter of 2020, Mr. Momoa's Q score would have more time to account for the rise in popularity of the film Aquaman.
I don't know if it accounts for the rise of popularity. Again, using Miss Arnold's words, usually a Q score will be the highest right after the film, like I did measure Miss Heard.
All right. Do you show?
Wait, these questions are really stupid. They are made to confuse a jury into something that is not what they're actually trying to get at. These questions are literally made to confuse a jury. Literally. They don't... He understands what he's saying, and it's stupid. He's just trying to confuse them.
If you look on page 177 of your deposition transcript, you see that?
I don't see a page. Is that what you handed me?
You don't see page 177? At the 4 pages? 4 pages per?
Oh, yes, thank you.
And I asked you at lines 6 through 10, you'd agree that for the
I'm not confused.
winter of 2020, Jason Momoa's Q score would have more time to account for the rise of popularity in the film Aquaman, and you answered yes.
It could also win.
At that time, as I am a rebuttal expert to Ms. Arnold, based on her testimony, I've learned something new from her.
Oh, wow.
You didn't look at Ms. Heard's Q score for summer of 2020, correct?
She doesn't have any.
And Ms. De Armas had a lower familiarity score than Ms. Heard, correct?
If I don't have that in front of me, but if you're saying that, yes.
Okay. And Ms. De Armas's career trajectory has gone up since the summer of 2020, correct?
I don't know. I didn't analyze her career trajectory.
Okay. Could you put up plaintiff's trial exhibit 1297? That was the demonstrative.
Okay, his Q score could have also went down because of personal events or whatever media, right? It also went down from the
Ms.
loss of
De Armas
popularity of the movie.
has
So,
less Instagram followers than Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Heard has more than double the Instagram followers of Ms. De Armas, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it true that you get more social media followers the longer you're on social media?
Not necessarily.
No.
It doesn't work that way. It
What?
depends on many other factors.
So Ms. De Armas had a lower familiarity score and less Instagram followers,
Thanks,
yet
sir.
your testimony is that she would not be a proper comparable to Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
Okay. And you're not offering a different set of people who should be comparables, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. You can take that down.
okay, that did not do anything for them.
Now, you understand that Mr. Waldman has been banned from Twitter for life for harassing Amber Heard, correct?
I don't know that, but if that's the case,
Rip.
And you understand that Mr. Waldman appealed the decision to Twitter and they have confirmed his ban for life?
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach on this one?
Okay, sure.
Chad, what was the tweet that he made? Guys, what was the tweet that sent that made him get banned?
You agree that in looking at Mr. Schnell's data, 65% of the uses of negative hashtags relating to Ms. Heard occurred between April 1st, 2020 and June 15th, 2021, correct?
correct.
And you would agree that 5 of the 6 highest spikes of the negative hashtags were after the Depp Waldman statements, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And where you talked about the February 2020 spike, and the 65%, by the way, even includes the February 2020 spike of tweets, correct?
That's correct. Well, there was no spike in Feb 2020 during the Waldman statements.
Well, the spike in February 2020 was before the Waldman statements, right?
Hold up.
I would have you. Can we pull up the chart again if you want to talk about the spikes?
Sure. Can you put up 1294? Number 1.
Number one. Yeah, that spike happened before the Waldman statements.
Okay. And there was hardly any activity in negative hashtags until February 2020, correct?
That's correct.
And you understand that the spike in February 2020 was related to the partial tape that Mr. Waldman and Mr. Depp leaked to the Daily Mail, right?
I'm aware that the articles were related to Heard admitting to hitting Depp.
And you understand that Mr. Waldman testified that Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman met with the Daily Mail in person to provide the partial tape to the Daily Mail.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, he talked about what the number one related to.
What's the objection?
Sorry, lack of foundation and
I'm asking if he knows or he doesn't.
All right, overrule.
So what's important to me is the fact that this spike is prior to the Waldman statements.
Do you know if Mr. Waldman testified that Mr. Depp and he met with the Daily Mail in person to provide the partial tape?
No.
In February of 2020. You don't know one way or the other.
It's irrelevant to my opinion.
Okay. And the spike in July of 2020 came right after the last defamatory statement by Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman, correct?
The July spike, which is number 2, is not related to the Waldman statements, and there are articles related to abuse between Heard and Depp and feces found in Depp's bed.
And that's based on Google searches you did?
That's correct.
Okay. And the July spike in time came after the June 27th, 2020 defamatory statement by Mr. Depp and Mr. Waldman, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And 5 of the 6 spikes came after the defamatory statements, correct?
After the Waldman statements, yes.
Okay. Now, you testified before that you eliminated shares and likes of the Depp-Waldman statements from your analysis, right?
Repeat that, please.
Did you say that you eliminated shares and likes of tweets that included the Depp-Waldman statements?
Who cares?
That's correct. When I was doing my analysis, I noticed the exact same text was a part of many of these tweets.
Don't shares and likes disseminate the negative information?
That's quite possible.
Okay.
I don't.
You
What?
agree, right, that use of the term Waldman or Waldmanian occurred over 25% of the time in the negative tweets toward Ms. Heard from April 2020 through January 2021, correct?
Guys, he's not throwing it.
Although it's irrelevant to this case, it
He's a
has
witness.
nothing to do with the Waldman statements. That's what Mr. Schnell says.
He's a.
You don't disagree with the search results, correct?
Although has nothing to do with this case or the Waldman statements, I do not disagree.
So if people are tweeting about Adam Waldman or Waldmanian at the same time as tweeting negative hashtags about Amber Heard, it's your testimony that they have nothing to do with this case?
The hashtags have nothing to do with this case.
That's what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And even if they include the negative hashtags with Mr. Waldman's name and Waldmanian, you're saying they have nothing to do with the defamatory statements?
All 4 hashtags that Snell used had nothing to do with the Waldman statements.
Yeah.
Waldman himself has nothing to do with the Waldman statements. We're talking about the Waldman statements here. Waldmanian, I don't even know what that is, but again, it has nothing to do with this case, and it's not related to the Waldman statements. That's what's important.
And the reason you're saying they're not related to the Waldman statements is because someone didn't literally copy what Adam Waldman said in the Daily Mail and tweeted out?
Well, I looked at enough tweets that included the name Waldman that have nothing to do with anything negative or the Waldman statements.
No, they must have had
Waldman
to have the negative hashtags toward Ms. Heard, because the only way that those would have been in the data you looked at would have had the negative hashtags towards Ms. Heard. It was looking at that universe, correct?
Well, first of all, I don't agree that justice for Johnny Depp is a negative hashtag towards Amber Heard. So
That's what I
the
said.
assignment was to determine
That's what I
if the
said.
tweets that Mr. Schnell presented were related or included the Waldman statements.
Oh my God!
In your
Finally.
review of the tweets related to Ms. Heard, you cannot point to any that were positive toward Ms. Heard, correct?
Again, I was not looking for that.
And you did not review the hashtag Justice for Johnny Depp during the time frame from April 1st, 2020 to January 1st, 2020 to see if there were any that were not negative toward Ms. Heard.
I did not look into anything as it relates to anything other than what relates to the Waldman statements. That's what's at issue here today as we sit in court.
Okay.
Damn.
And you didn't
Jeez,
form any
school this
statistical
guy.
analysis to rule out the Waldman statement's impact on the hashtags, correct?
Correct.
You did not analyze whether media and press coverage other than the Waldman statements affected Ms. Heard's career, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Looking at
Again, he's a piece of the
exhibit
puzzle.
that's in front of you, where you have the numbers here, those you said are related to Google searches?
The 1 through 6?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And can we put up plaintiffs 888?
Yeah, it's getting repetitive a lot because Amber's defense are using every piece of the puzzle and say, this isn't the whole puzzle, right? Right?
And
This isn't the
we'll
whole.
just start
It's
with
like,
one. Do you understand
that's not my
that you're-
assignment. Like, my assignment is, I'm one of the pieces of the puzzle.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, thanks. And 888, it's page 76. These are the documents you relied upon for your opinion today?
Yes.
And are these the search, where it has the different letters? These are the searches that you ran for the various time frames and the articles that came up for numbers 1 through 6, correct?
we don't have them anywhere else.
No. I mean, obviously, document 1A is the Heard supplemental expert witness disclosure. These are documents that I used throughout the time I've been working on this project. So these aren't related to those 1 through 6 numbers.
Okay. These are documents you relied upon for your opinion today?
These are documents that I relied upon when I presented my designation.
For your opinion today, that you're offering today?
Yeah, these are the documents that, yes, I've relied on throughout this case.
Okay. And actually, Michelle, could you turn in this designation to,
Yeah, Michelle, blow that shit up.
let's see. Hold on one second. Can you just scroll down? Yeah, keep scrolling.
These guys' questions they're terrible. Everybody knows what the fuck he's doing, and it's just fucking stupid.
Keep going. Okay, stop. This was the chart you provided with your designation for your opinions in this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's similar to the chart that we had before with the 1 through 6, correct?
That's correct.
Guys, we're running out of time.
And where it has the various boxes, it's talking about documents 6E through 6H, for instance, related to Depp wanting to have Heard replaced on Aquaman. see that?
Yes.
And you prepared this chart, correct?
Yeah, this was part of my
I have
designation.
about 2 hours
I'd
left.
like to have this page as a demonstrative.
Your Honor, I do have an objection, if I might be heard.
All right, if you want to come forward, page 99.
They had less than 4 or less than 5 earlier. That was before, I was after first recess. They have about 2 hours left? How much time do they got left? Does anybody know? Dude. The guy said what his assignment is, and we're just trying to prove and what his value is in the explanations. And he's like, yeah, but this doesn't explain the whole thing, right? No, it doesn't. Okay, but you didn't do this, right? Yeah, this is not my assignment. Like, what did this guy want him to do? It's just not his assignment. And the other guy also was making a parallel to Amber's witness. And their lawyer comes on, right? And they're like, you said this and you said that, right? And he's like, yeah, to make a comparison to your own witness. Like, they're literally going against their own witness. This is just so weird. He only counter-argued the points of Miss Aaron, or whatever the fuck her name is. Right? The crazy lady? So they were making points against hers, and lawyers are out there making it like an outlandish, oh yeah? Then why did you do this? Yeah, but well, I'm comparing your own words. This is your witness, dumb fuck. Like, They wouldn't make these statements and these comparisons if she didn't make it in the first place. Like, they completely lose track of what the timeline is. It's just so weird. Man? Camille is right here. She's on her phone right now. Oh, I just got a DM, hold up. Gadget my Twitter. Oh, what is this time over here? Is this the real time? Guys, is Camille married or not? Does anybody know? I'm asking because I have school tomorrow morning and I'm making a project on her. I'm going to law school these days. It's just for academic reasons. Of course he's stressed out. He's literally forced to speak faster because they're running out of time. That's how bad. That's how little time they have left, man. My man's is condensing his questions. And dude, literally. Wait. He stamped his foot? I didn't see it. No shot, he stomped.
Other than...
We'll go back, hold up. Yeah, dude! Actually molding.
So as I understand it, the way you determined that the tweets were not related to the Waldman statements was that you looked at time and then you ran certain Google searches, correct?
Correct.
And then the top 3 hits came up.
Correct.
And then you looked through the article to see if the Waldman statements were there?
So as it relates to any trending event, any defamation that's happened online, any allegations of economic loss because something went viral, going to Google, looking at the spikes in time and going back in time to see what was happening on those top 3 sites will give you an indication of the best results that were being served at that time. So something viral that's happening would appear most likely in those top 3 results.
And just so the record's clear, if we could go back to page 76 of this document.
Here comes the
Number 6A.
It's resyncing.
Through 6N, going to the next page. Those are the headlines of the searches that you found?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't disagree that that negative tweets toward Ms. Heard have continued throughout the analysis of the tweets, correct?
I'm not looking at whether they're negative tweets or those hashtags are negative. I'm determining if those tweets are related to the Waldman statements.
Right, okay, and you have no opinion whether the tweets were positive or negative towards Ms. Heard. That's what you're saying?
Yes, I'm just analyzing whether or not they're related to
Okay.
the Waldman statements.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing.
He's doing it again. He thinks that he won somehow.
I have
That's-
no further questions of this witness, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Banya.
Yes.
Sir, you can leave the courtroom or you please.
Thank you.
All right, your next witness.
This is like the 3rd time to take a witness and ask if it's it. Nobody.
Gentlemen, we're going to take a brief recess for you at this point. Hopefully within 15 minutes we'll get right back to you, okay?
Nobody in the world, anybody, could prove
Do not discuss the case and don't do any outside research. Sorry.
what they're
We'll just take
asking. Nobody can
short
prove
break.
that. Nobody can prove the intention of the overall public behind certain tweets. It's like impossible. How can you do that in court?